Hello world! This is my first YouTube video, and perhaps my last. It is a mission video. So what you're looking at are dates that I researched on Stellarium, trying to find other times when all of the elements lined up for the Revelation 12, 1 and 2 sign. So these dates are all dates where it comes really close. Three of them are really close. The only element that they don't have is that Jupiter was not in the constellation for what would be a normal gestation period of a human being, which is really important if it's going to be the heavenly sign. And, well, we can't check, but of course none of them had that goofy looking thing, that dragon looking thing that Google Sky blocked out, and NASA's website still has it in their database that you can only see in the infrared spectrum. So my point is this: the sign, I believe, was a sign, and I believe that's what we should take it at, what the word says it is. It's a sign pointing to something. And I believe it was significant, and it is significant, along with all of the other vectoring convergence of things, numbers, and prophetic cycles, and all of these. I mean, if you've been paying attention, you know what I'm talking about. And I wanted to show that I put the time in for this, several hours of work, just to do that 2,000 years. That's just to the time of Jesus, because I figured if it's 2,000 years, it's probably the 7,000's correct, and 2,000 is enough for me to pay attention. So the thing is that I wanted to show that I put the time in because ever since this whole zeitgeist on the Revelation 12 rapture thing really started to blow up, I started paying attention, and I spent tens of hours, like, I don't know, maybe 50, 60, or I don't know, 100 hours, looking at videos and checking everybody's work and trying to put it all together. And it didn't happen, as we all know, as many people were predicting. But something bothered me even before, and it was about the fall feasts. That Jesus, because he fulfilled the spring feast, which we all know he did, he needed to fulfill the fall feasts, and they have yet to be fulfilled. And that's why we're looking at it. And something bothered me about that. For example, tabernacles. I believe he fulfilled tabernacles. I believe that when he came the first time, he fulfilled it. In the John chapter 1, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And verse 14 says, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, tabernacled among us. How is that not a fulfillment? And when it came to atonement, he made atonement. He made atonement on Passover. So that wasn't fulfilled on the Torah prescribed date, but he did make atonement. And then trumpets. How did he fulfill trumpets? Well, what is a trumpet? It's an alarm. It's a warning. It's a sounding of an announcement. Well, we got John the Baptist, one crying in the wilderness, make straight the way of the Lord. Make his path straight. We got the angels in the field announcing to the shepherds. We got the Magi who saw the astronomical signs. The astronomical signs were trumpeting it, just like Revelation 12 is trumpeting it, perhaps. So, for sure, tabernacles were fulfilled. So, like, scratching my head, like, what's okay? And what I noticed was that everyone who was making timelines They had to reverse engineer it from the Day of Atonement, because the Day of Atonement is the day, supposedly, that Jesus has to fulfill by coming back and returning on his second coming on that date. Everything is reverse engineered from that. And because of Daniel's time frames, the 1290 days, the 1260 days, we have to make these things fit. And this is what I discovered. Here are, as you know, the feasts. The spring feasts on top, fall feasts on the bottom. And when I got to thinking about it, I discovered something. Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, Shavuot, all occurred. These are all shadows, of course. We agree on that they all point to Jesus. They all speak about Jesus. Those are the feasts. They're all talking about Messiah. Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, and Shavuot were all fulfilled, or I should say, first, the shadows, the type and shadow, occurred on a specific date. Jesus fulfilled them on a specific date. And that's where everybody argues. Well, if he fulfilled the spring feast on a specific date, then pattern holds, he'll fulfill the fall feast on a specific date. Wait. The fall feasts were not shadows that occurred on specific dates. Let's go backwards. Tabernacles. When God gave the instruction to keep the Feast of Tabernacles, he said it was because you dwelt in tabernacles in the wilderness when I was with you. Pillar fire, pillar cloud, tabernacles, tents. And I was in your presence. How about atonement? Where's the shadow for atonement? Well, Passover was also an atonement when they had to take that lamb, the spotless lamb, befriended it, and they had to do something real ugly to it, take its blood, put it on the lintel, on the doorposts, so that the angel of death, so that judgment would pass over them. And you could also say that atonement, Pharaoh and his army, they made atonement when they suffered the judgment and they had to go through the Red Sea, and his whole army was destroyed, etc. You know the story. But my point is this. They did not happen on specific dates. The shadows didn't happen on specific dates. Whereas in the spring feasts, they all happened on specific dates. And trumpets. Well, trumpets, the shadow for trumpets could have been the burning bush, the announcement. It could have been when Moses walked into Pharaoh's palace, his old homies there, and announced, "Let my people go." And he said, if you don't let them go, this is what's going to happen. So the point is that they were not all fulfilled. They were not all shadows that occurred on specific dates. And Jesus, I believe when he came the first time, and that could be why there's a gap between the sets of feasts, the 4, and then there's a gap, and then you get the 3. Maybe it's because they have 2 fulfillments. Well, Jesus fulfilled tabernacles, that I'm sure of, the first time. And obviously he's going to fulfill it again. Atonement, Jesus made atonement, but again, he fulfilled it, but not on a specific, not on the date in the fall that was prescribed in the Torah. He fulfilled it with his death on the cross. And trumpets, well, they had the John the Baptist, one crying in the wilderness, "Make straight the way of the Lord." That was well before Jesus showed up. And that was not on a specific date. And the angels in the field and making the announcement. And you had the Magi from far away seeing the signs. The signs were trumpeting the announcement perhaps much like Revelation 12, 1 and 2 is. So this is my point. All the shadows on specific dates, not specific dates. Fulfillment on specific dates, not specific dates. How about this? John 3:18, right after John 3:16. I'm sorry for the lack of sophistication, but like I said, this is a mission video. All right, so what does it say? It says, "He that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already." Just by Jesus showing up, the world is judged. If you receive him, you pass from judgment. If you don't, you're judged already. People walking around now who don't have Jesus, they're judged. They may not know it, but they are. How about this? That kind of confirms it. Let two or three witnesses confirm every word. That they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. That they all might be damned who believed not the truth. Got one more. Romans 12. Just to show that without Jesus, you're condemned. For as many as have sinned without the law also perish without the law, and as many as have sinned with the law, in the law, shall be judged by the law. You don't want to be judged by the law. So, that's my point. So we're making timelines based on a false premise that Jesus has to fulfill the second time these feasts on specific dates. And I think that the question might arise, well, why did God prescribe specific dates for them? Well, maybe because this is the season. Maybe Revelation 12 sign is a pointer to a season. Because he said we can know the times and the seasons. And I'm not even arguing that whole no man knows the day or the hour and how it points to the Feast of Trumpets and all of that. I'm not going there. And people say that the rapture has to occur on the Feast of Trumpets. Well, I think if we're going to take the patterns, then you have to admit that the shadows did not happen on specific dates as the spring feast did. Therefore, Jesus, when he fulfilled the fall feasts, just by being born, he fulfilled all three of them. Tabernacles, atonement, you judged already if you don't believe, and the whole announcement of his birth, God becoming a man, coming down to earth for us. If you don't blow a trumpet for that, I don't know what you blow a trumpet for. So, he didn't fulfill them on specific dates, and we shouldn't expect that he'll fulfill the second time on a specific date. So stop with the timelines. I think they are erroneous. Jesus can rapture us anytime. He can rapture us on George Washington's birthday or the 4th of July or something. Any day he wants. And as far as like when the tribulation starts and stops and all of that, yeah, the 1260 days and the 1290 days, it's all right. But the thing is that the 7 years starts when Daniel's 70th week starts, when the covenant is affirmed. So that's pretty much all I have to say. And if I think of anything else, but I probably won't make another video unless God really puts it on my heart. So I hope this helped, and blessings, and go with God, and just keep waiting, keep looking up, be ready. Just keep the Lord right here and here, and you'll be fine. Okay? And don't forget, this is a sign. I believe it was a sign. It's pointing. I think we're close. Oh, don't forget Yehuda ben Samuel. Forgot to mention him about the Jubilees. And he wasn't saying that those were Jubilee years. What he was saying, he was just using it as a time period. So I think that we actually might be in a Jubilee year right now. And I say that because the Jubilee had to do with the people being in the land. Technically, you say, well, they did that in 1948. They didn't have Jerusalem. Now that they have Jerusalem, I think you got to start counting from there. So if you want to get into that Jubilee thing, I think we might be in this year might be the year of Jubilee. That happened in June of 1967, but there was only 3 months left in that year, and God said count 49 years, and the 50th year would be it. Well, the full 49 years happened, closed up this last day of atonement, and we might be in a Jubilee year right now. So you had the prophecies, you had the Yehuda ben Samuel prophecy, you have the Revelation 12 sign. I think that we're getting real close. But the timeline thing, no. The fall feasts were not fulfilled. Not the shadows didn't occur on specific days, and Jesus didn't fulfill them on specific days. I mean, his birthday was in the fall. We could pretty much get to within maybe a 3-4 week period, but we don't know the day. Okay, see ya.